morning. Today's video is a bit of a serious one because today is the anniversary of the 3/11 earthquake that happened 10 years ago. Hard to believe it was 10 years ago because it was 10 years ago. Yeah, I mean, at the time, I was 19 years old, wrapping up my freshman year of college. I was living in Phoenix, or rather Tempe. Yeah, it was a strange time. I was already prepared to and got accepted to go to my first trip over here to Japan for a summer study program. And these really tall buildings that you see here were not in existence yet at the time. This thing wasn't flying the Yamanote line back then either. Well, this place is still a bit crowded, but not as crowded as it used to be because of a certain virus from somewhere. These two buildings weren't even there. This one was under construction at the time. I was hoping today I would come across an anti-nuclear protest, but I haven't seen it. But I guess they didn't get approval or something or whatever, right? But this sign used to be all in a bunch of different languages here, but now thanks to the pandemic, just in Japanese and in English. And also Cha Time has been slowly going out of business. I think in the last 10 years, Japan is a lot different from what it was, right? This country is so different. Everybody has been changing, more engaged with each other, but at the same time, I think that's every country. People grow up, countries grow up, right? This whole area over here is different. There used to be a few restaurants and bars over here I liked, and now it's all under construction. In about a minute, they're gonna stop the trains. Every year they do this as a drill. But it's also meant to be a memory for the earthquake.
The next station is Nishiomi, JX16.
I've told this story a handful of times, and I'll just tell it again for the sake of it. When the earthquake happened 10 years ago, I was still living in Arizona. I was a freshman in college, right? It was about 10 o'clock, like 10:45 at night, 10:46 at night in Phoenix. And at the time I had a pen pal because I was just starting learning Japanese at that point, and I was using a pen pal for language exchange, right? And what happened was, my pen pal, this is before the days of Twitter, Facebook, and Line and all that, right before all of that proliferated here in Japan. And everyone just had their own email address, right? Mea Ado, right? That's what they called it. Anyway, so I got an email from her, my pen pal, and she sent me multiple emails just frantically freaking out. And she was like, something happened, there was a big earthquake. And I was like, okay, are you okay? And there was stuff, like her entire apartment there was just stuff strewn everywhere. It was such a mess. I mean, that's the least of it. She lived up in Ibaraki, and it was really, much more shaky up there than it was down here in Tokyo. So I checked Facebook, and a friend of mine who did have Facebook, a Japanese friend, she reported that there was a massive earthquake and that a house near her collapsed and they were being evacuated. I turned on the TV, and sure enough, immediately I saw it was magnitude 7.9 at the time. That was an understatement. And I had NHK World on my phone, so I just pulled that up and I used my PC to, communicate with people over there. It was tough because a lot of people, basically rudimentarily used Facebook. It wasn't really a proliferated thing back then, much less with smartphones. Like in 2011, when I made my first trip to Japan back in 2011 July, everyone thought my iPhone 4 was one of the coolest things ever. And now everybody's got a smartphone, right? So this was, you know, before the days of Twitter. And I think my buddy John told me that because of the big quake, Twitter became a huge thing here because, you know, the news was being very slow. You know, Facebook wasn't much of a thing. People didn't trust Facebook then. People were like, why don't Japanese people trust Facebook? Well, the very reason we don't trust Facebook now. People were just, you know, trying to figure out what was going on, right? And I mean, I was sitting there texting people, Facebooking people from like 10 o'clock or 10:45 when it happened until like well into like 2, 3 in the morning, right? Yeah, it was unbelievably stressful. And you know, the first thing I thought of as well was, you know, my friends back in Tokyo, and then my parents texted me. They're like, are your friends okay? And you know, sure enough, everyone I was able to get into contact with was okay. None of my friends who lived in Japan at that time were injured or anything like that either, though some did lose relatives, and that's, you know, it's incredibly sad, right? Immediately as well, we got into contact with someone from the student services department about my upcoming trip in July. They moved us from going to homestays, which, you know, I was really looking forward to going to a homestay, and then they put us in a hotel, which, you know, in retrospect, that was actually pretty nice that they put us in a hotel. The next day at school, I noticed all the Japanese exchange students who were there were downloading Twitter. It was kind of like, okay, you got to figure out how to use Twitter, how do I use Twitter, all that sort of stuff, right? Everyone who did have a smartphone was trying to use social media to contact their relatives. It's like 8 o'clock at night. We were sitting out front of the MU at Arizona State, and one girl that we were with, like, they're actually literally about to leave for Japan the next morning. You know, she was trying to get a hold of her dad. Like, you know, she only had her dad in her life. You know, her mom wasn't around. This girl was just, I could tell she was internally, she was so stressed out. But you know, we were all entertaining her and having a good time. We were playing cards and stuff in front of the MU, but I could tell she was just, you know, incredibly stressed out. But finally she gets a call from her dad. She was like, oh, thank God you're alive, right? And you know, sure enough, he was alive. He spent the entire night drinking in the center of Tokyo, and apparently that's what a lot of people did. Yeah, once people realized that they were alive, they were just like, screw it, let's just drink. I'm gonna play a clip from a previous video. I think that, you know, you might have seen this one with James, right? This was James's experience. James was here. He was in college at Waseda at the time, right? So he knew what was going on. So I'm gonna play James's clip here.
Sweet. There's a question for you.
Yeah.
Where did I go to school?
You went to Waseda, didn't you?
We're heading there right now.
All right.
Oh.
Weren't you like drunk as balls at Waseda campus during the big earthquake, like 11 years or almost 10 years ago?
What happened? I was in the lounge.
Yeah.
Everyone was running up to the windows.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the fuck. I thought a celebrity came to the school, right?
Yeah.
That was normal. I was like, oh, another fucking celebrity. Then the security came in. I was like, oh, I thought, okay, the security, a celebrity person?
Yeah.
I thought they were coming in the building. Turns out they're telling everyone to get out. I still haven't realized what the fuck is going on. I get out the building.
Yeah.
And then there's this like bridge or whatever between the two campuses.
Yeah.
Then I'm seeing like, wait a minute. Why is this building shaking? It took me a full minute to realize that there's a fucking earthquake. So we all had to go to the park and decided to evacuate, right? I just gathered me and like about 6 other people, just random people, and said, fuck it, let's go to the bar.
Jeez.
And got wasted.
The bar stayed open?
Yeah, the bar was open.
Oh my God. Yeah. Incredible, right? That's James for it. But apparently, I mean, that's pretty much what everybody did, you know, here in Tokyo, because the trains were all shut down, the highways were all shut down. The only thing you could do is drink, so might as well drink, right? But yeah. Anyway, I hope you know, people who lost loved ones are doing okay today. Obviously, this is a very tragic story for a lot of people, but you know, I've been here for 8 years and I've seen Japan grow, and it's grown a lot. So, you know, maybe this was a good event for Japan in order for it to modernize and figure out ways to, you know, prepare themselves for future disasters. I don't know. But yeah, I hope you guys have a good day, and I'll see you on the next video.